One Day at a Time looked like another sitcom about a divorced mom starting fresh. But behind the laughs, it tackled fear, freedom, and the price of keeping a family whole when life gets messy. The cast made us feel at home, but behind the scenes were real stories of addiction, heartbreak, and final goodbyes that no script could fix. This is the cast of One Day at a Time, then and now. What happened after the apartment door closed might hit you much harder than you remember. Anne Romano was the mother who made the show feel brave. She wasn't chasing perfection. She was just trying to survive with her head up. Bonnie Franklin, born January 6, 1944, was 31 when the show premiered 1975. She gave Anne a nervous strength that felt groundbreaking. She was a divorced mom raising two teens, were dating, and constantly worrying about what's next. She did it all without that old sitcom safety net. No husband swooping in to fix everything before the credits rolled. That's why she mattered. She was a woman building a life on her own terms, while terrified independence might actually cost her. Franklin played her with grit, humor, and total exhaustion. She wasn't just a symbol. She was a real mom with bills, pride, and loneliness pulling at her from a single side. Franklin passed away on March 1st, 2013, at 69 after battling pancreatic cancer. That makes Anne's resilience feel even more human today. Beyond the show, Franklin was a gifted performer who envisioned a television for the long haul. Anne Romano sticks with us because Bonnie Franklin made independence feel messy, vital, and alive. Schneider is the guy with the tool belt, the mustache, and that legendary, impossible confidence. He's just the neighbor who starts as a joke and somehow ends up as family. Pat Harrington Jr., born August 13, 1929, was 46 when the started in 1975, and he turned Schneider into one of the most recognizable characters in sitcom history. At a glance, Schneider just seems like the classic comic relief. He was nosy and overconfident, acting like he owned the place, but Harrington gave him a real, warm, hard, unearthed act. Schneider became the essential male presence in Anne's small apartment world. Not a replacement dad, but a loyal, flawed, and funny guy who showed up whenever the family needed him most. That's why we loved him. Harrington passed on January 6, 2016, at 86 from complications of MS disease. Looking back, Schneider's humor carries a much softer edge these days. Harrington won an Emmy and a Golden Globe, proving the character was way more than just a catchphrase and a costume. Schneider lives on because Pat Harrington Jr. made that ridiculous confidence feel lonely, loyal, and surprisingly tender. Julie Cooper was the daughter who made the show feel restless because she carried the storm of growing up before she knew what to do with it. McKenzie Phillips, born November 10, 1959, was just 16 when the show started in 1975. She brought a raw, teenage energy to Julie that never felt like typical Hollywood polish. Julie was rebellious, impulsive, and hard to reach, but that's exactly why her character matters to facts. She was the kid who loved her family but wanted to run away from every single rule they had. Phillips understood that instability because her own life outside the show was painfully complex. She turned 67, and her story remains one of survival. Before her sitcom days, she had already made a splash in the film American Graffiti, but her sitcom years were derailed by substance abuse struggles that eventually became a major public story. She eventually became an author and musician. She also became an addiction counselor, turning her darkest moments into a powerful way to help others. Julie Cooper endures because McKenzie Phillips made rebellion feel wounded, and those wounds make her possible to forget. Max Horvath was the young husband who brought love into the mix before anyone realized just how heavily was done to get. Michael Lembeck, born June 25, 1948, was 31 when he joined the cast in 79. He played Max with an easy charm that made him feel warm before the weight of life started pressing in. Max was always fun-loving, devoted, and completely sincere. But his story matters because marriage on this show was never a fairy tale. He and Julie were a couple of fine stability, while still figuring out who they were. He was more than just a sitcom spouse. He reminded us that love can be real and still be incredibly complicated. In 2026, Lembeck turned 78. His most lasting legacy might actually be his behind the camera. After acting, he became a top-tier director, helming major sitcom hits, including Friends, Everybody Loves Raymond, and family movies tied to the Santa Claus franchise. Max Horvath lives on because Lembeck made young commitment feel hopeful, funny, and perfectly Mark Royer is the steady guy Barbara grows toward. He makes adulthood feel like a choice. Boyd Gaines, born May 11th, 1953, was 28 when he joined in 1981. He gave Mark a gentle vibe that balanced out the show's heavy drama. Mark doesn't dominate. He works because he offers calm, patience, and love that doesn't need a constant spotlight. With Barbara, he represents a grounded future. Marriage not as a dream, but as deep trust. Gaines played that steadiness without being boring. It's harder than it looks. In 2023, with a legendary stage career, Gaines went on to become one of Broadway's most respected stars, winning multiple Tony Awards and proving his talent went way beyond the TV husband type. His stage success makes Mark look better in hindsight. This nice guy was played by a serious pro. Mark Royer endures because Gaines made decency attractive, and decency is underrated until it is gone. Grandma Anne Romano is the wise older voice in One Day at a Time. She's the mother whose love comes of advice, opinions, and enough meddling to keep Anne grounded. Nanette Faber, born October 27, 1920, was 59 when she joined in 1979. She brought sharp comic timing. Catherine matters because she turns Anne's independence into a conversation between generations. Anne is trying to build a modern life after her divorce, but Catherine carries the habits and worries of an older world, where family duty and personal freedom made that conflict funny and deep. She passed on February 22nd, 2018, at 97, after a long, legendary across screen and stage. Long before this sitcom, she had already won major acclaim in musical theater and TV, including Emmy Awards, and she later became a powerful advocate for the hearing impaired. That real advocacy adds depth to her warmth. Grandma Catherine endures because Nanette Faber made her meddling feel like pure love. Love often sounds like criticism before it reveals itself as care. Francine Webster is the one who brings that workplace tension. She proves that independence isn't just a battle fought at home, but also in offices, over promotions, and through professional rivalries. Shelley Fabares, born January 19, 1944, was 34 when she first appeared in 78. She gave Francine a sharp, ambitious energy. Francine works because she reflects the pressure on women wanting success in a world still deciding how hounds they can have. Around Anne, she can be funny, competitive, and honestly, pretty difficult, but she shows that female independence doesn't just come in one soft package. In 2026, Faber is 82, with a career backed by long television memories. Before this role, she was already beloved from the Donna Reed Show and the hit song Johnny Angel. Later, people knew her from Coach. Her later health struggles and quiet life away from acting add human softness to her bright career. Francine Webster endures because Shelley Faber's made ambition look stylish, complicated, and totally impossible to ignore. David Kane is the safe bet Anne can quite take, the caring guy offering affection and stability while she's still learning how to stand on her own 2 feet. Richard Nsauer, born November 20th, 1948, was 27 when the show started in 1975. He played David with a softness that felt truly decent and human. David matters because his relationship with Anne highlights one of the show's smartest emotions. After a divorce, love isn't just about finding a good person. It is about knowing whether accepting comfort will cost you the independence you fought so hard. Wazard never made David too weak. He made him patient, slightly wounded, and real. In 2026, Mazer turned 78 of long acting career. Fans remember him from The Thing, Risky Business, and My Girl, along with his industry leadership through the Screen Actors Guild and After. David Kane endures because Richard Nsauer made kindness available, but sometimes availability is enough to make lives fit. Nick Handress was that rare second chance for Anne. He brought a warmth that made his eventual loss feel brutal and far too soon for the audience. Ron Rifkin was born October 31st, 1939. He was 41 when he joined the show back in 1980. He gave Nick a calm, loving energy that stood out from the other guys in Anne's life. Nick wasn't there to play the hero or rescuer. He was there to meet her as an equal, offering humor, tenderness, and the hope of a much more stable life together. That's why his sudden death hit so hard. It was a sharp reminder that even in sitcoms, grief can crash the party without any warning arms. By 2026, Rifkin turns 87. His life after the show became a masterclass in respected, high-level acting. He later starred in Alias, Brothers and Sisters, and La Confidential, plus a Tony-winning Theaters More Than Much More Coven. He's a TV actor. Looking back, Nick's role feels like a subtle, quiet chapter in a massive career defined by intelligence and deep emotional control. Nick Handra sticks with us because Rifkin made grown-up tenderness feel real, and that kind of emotion when it's gone. Jenny Rabicki is that neighbor who makes Anna's world feel a lot louder, a bit freer, and way less leer. Mary Louise Wilson was born November 12, 1931. She was 45 when she starred in 1976. She brought a bold comic energy to Ginny that felt like a breath of fresh air. Ginny matters because just about bills and survival. She needed laughs and friendship. She needed someone who wouldn't let things get too heavy. Wilson Ginny with a chaotic but grounded confidence that only a seasoned prude could pull off. You felt like she had a whole life of stories before she ever stepped into Anna's world. By 2026, Mary Louise Wilson turns 95. Her career after the sitcom, especially became a theater stage. She won a Tony for Grey Gardens and built a massive reputation for playing sharp, eccentric, and deeply human characters on change and shriek. That success makes Ginny feel like an early look at a performer who knew how to steal the show without ever breaking the scene. Jenny Rabicki sticks with us because Wilson making a pest feel like true friendship, and sometimes she cuts life from feeling too small. Sam Royer is the partner who arrives late to give Anne Romano a much quieter kind of love. It was built on companionship, not rescue. Howard Hessman was born February 27, 97. He was 42, and then he joined the show in 1982. He brought Sam the relaxed intelligence of who romance did not need to be dramatic to matter. Sam works because he arrives after Anne has spent years proving she can stand on her own 2 feet. His presence does not erase her independence. He tests whether she can let someone stand beside her without losing who she is. Hessman gave that balancey, natural charm. He passed away on January 29, 2022, at 81. He left behind a career that the fans staunchly love today. Before Sam, he was already iconic as Dr. Johnny Fever on WRP in Cincinnati. That role captured his counterculture wit and perfect comic timing. That history gave Sam a much warmer, lived-in feel. Sam Royer sticks with us because Howard Hessman made mature love feel relaxed, smart, and quietly. Bob Morton is the awkward boyfriend who reminds us that teenage love is usually more sincere than it is graceful. John Push, born July 27, 1961. He was 15 when he debuted in 1976. He gave Bob a nervous sweetness that fit perfectly. Bob wasn't some smooth romantic fantasy. He's the guy who tries hard, stumbles, and makes things awkward just because he cares so much. That's why he works. The show knew that young love isn't just about chemistry or looks. It's about the embarrassment, the hope, and the tough practice of letting someone else really see you. By 2026, Puch turned 65. After acting, his career found its real strength on camera. He became a busy director, working on hit shows like Scrubs, Cougar Town, and American Housewife. He built a long, creative career that matters way more than early fame. Bob endures because John Push made affection feel honest, and being honestly awkward is one of the truest parts of growing up. Ed Cooper is the absent dad whose charm can hide the damage he left. Joseph Campanella was born November 21, 1984. He was 52 when he first appeared. He gave an uneasy mix of warmth, guilt, and flakes that made the character feel totally real. Ed matters because the show is really about the messy aftermath of divorce. His presence is a reminder that Anne's independence didn't just happen out of nowhere. It was born from broken trust and the hard work of co-parenting with a man who's still part of the family story, even if he's not in the house. Campanella passed away May 16, 2018 at 93 after Parkinson's disease. He left behind a long, durable television career. Viewers likely know the face even without the name. He even appeared in Mannix roles in The Bold and the Beautiful, and the Colbys made his authoritative voice and presence instantly recognizable. Ed Cooper works because Joseph Campanella made that absence feel so charming and painful. Jerry Davenport is the polished man who enters Anna's life, showing how fast charm becomes exhausting when exhausting with a massive ego. Charles Sebert was born March 9, 1938. At 39 in 1977, he gave Jerry the confidence of a man who owned every rune. He helps tell Anna's story. She is not just picking a man. She is figuring out what kind of respect she deserves. Jerry's arrogance creates comedy, but it also reveals Anna's growth. She no longer accepts men just for being successful or interested. Charles Sebert died May 1st. He passed in 2022 at 84 from COVID-19 after a long career in theater. Many knew him as Dr. Stanley Riverside II on Trapper John, M.D., and later as Adra D. Jerry Davenport endures because Charles Sebert made that confidence feel slightly hollow. That was exactly what Romano had learned to see through. Cliff Randall is the boyfriend bringing all that swagger into Barbara's world. His confidence seems exciting until life starts asking him much harder questions. Scott Columbine was born September 19, 1952. He was 25 in 1977. Given easy charm that fit the show's rhythm. Cliff matters because Barbara's growth is measured by the people she eventually learns to outgrow. He is not a great partner. He represents the trial and error phase where attraction teaches you lessons, even if it fails. In 2026, Columbine turned 74. His later career became deeply tied to comedy. Roles in Caddyshack and Porky's made him familiar to audiences way outside sitcom television, before step back to men intersect young actors. Cliff Randall endures because Scott Columbine made youthful cockiness feel recognizable. Sometimes being recognizable is enough. Romance truly memorable. Mr. Connors is the boss who turns Anne Romano's office into another daily battlefield. John Hillerman was born December 20th, 1932. At 44 in 1976, he gave Connors the stern vibe of a man demanding total authority. That was perfect for a show about a divorced woman constantly building a life under heavy judgment. Anna's fight is not just at home, it is also at work, where gender and ambition are measured. Hillerman died November 9th, 2017 at 84 from cardiovascular disease. He left behind a legendary portrait of controlled irritation. He played Jonathan Higgins on Magnum P.I., winning both an Emmy and Golden Globe. That later fame echoes in Connors. Hillerman knew how to make being rigid actually funny. Mr. Connors endures because John Hillerman made workplace authority feel sharp and very stiff. John is a smaller character who really helps flesh out the world of one day at a time. He reminds us that growing up is shaped by family and the people passing through your life. Daryl Morey was born March 3rd, 1956. At 22, he brought John the casual uncertainty of his young adulthood. The role is small, but these characters prove the show was more than just big arguments. It was about the daily emotional traffic, crushes, friendships, and awkward encounters. The sense that the girls were exploring a world their mother could not fully control. In 2026, Mary is 70. Cult fans still remember him for Massacre at Central High. He played a much darker role there. Later, he moved into teaching and directing, fighting to help younger perform footing. The John endures because Daryl Morey made a small role feel like part of the real social weather of growing up. Emily works as a character because Nedra Valls could make any brief appearance feel instantly alive. Born June 18, 1908, Valls was 68 when she appeared on One Day at a Time in 1976, bringing his warmth that became her television signature. Characters like Emily matter because great sitcoms are built on more than just the main families. They are made of passing faces, neighbors, and those small comic interruptions that make a fiction feel real. Valls had a rare gift for entering a scene and instantly making it feel warmer and more human. She passed away January 2000 at 94. She left behind a long career defined by her memorable grandmotherly and eccentric roles. Viewers remember her from Different Strokes, The Dukes of Hazzard, and The A-Team. She had a special way of turning small parts into a sense of familiar comfort. Emily endures because Nedra Valls made aging look sharp and full of life, even in a role meant to just pass through. Barbara Cooper was the younger daughter who grew up before our eyes, going from a sweet kid in the apartment to woman finding her path. Valerie Bertinelli, born April 23, 1960, was only 15 when one a day 1975. She gave Barbara a natural warmth that made viewers feel protective of her almost immediately. Barbara was smart, funny, and far easier to underestimate than she actually deserved. Her journey mattered because she showed growing up as a slow movement toward confidence, love, and a really pleasant. Bertinelli made that growth feel natural because she was growing up right in front of the camera. She is 66 and has led many public chapters. She even won Golden Globes for her work on One Day at a Time. Later, she starred in Hot in Cleveland, hosted food shows, and wrote candidly about grief, marriage, and finding her self-worth. That kind of honesty has kept her unusually close to audiences across the decades. Barbara Cooper endures because Valerie Bertinelli made growing up feel tender and visible. Now, the apartments, quiet. One Day at a Time gave us laughs, arguments, and the fragile hope of a family trying to rebuild itself. But time changed the people behind those memories in ways no sitcom finale could ever protect. Some found new lives, some fought private battles, and others are gone, leaving behind performances that feel even more human with age. If this flashback brought back that old apartment, stay with Rewind 1960s for more than now. Just stories from the classic shows that helped us grow.